I tend to get long-winded, so ring me in, okay? Um, I met David when he first came to a concert here in my hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 90 minutes north of Chicago. And he came on, I'm looking at my dates because my memory fades. He came to concert on April 7th, 1972. It was close to his birthday. And I'm like, I got to get this guy a birthday present. And I'm like, what do I get him? Okay, so my friend and I, who's 2 years older than I am, and I was 16 at the time, went to a wine store and I picked up a bottle of wine for him for his birthday. I was a little bit investigating wines myself at that age. I was kind of a little bit of a wild person. And I thought, what kind of wine do I want to get David? So I decided on this bottle of wine called Valley High. Why? Because the price was more than my Boone's Farm Strawberry Hill. And I thought it's got to be better. And the label was pretty. And I just had this feeling I was going to meet him. I can't describe it. So we went to the concert. Let me back up here a minute. My girlfriend, Kathy, was able to buy the wine because she was of legal age. So we went to the concert, great concert, but I wasn't close to the stage. I didn't get to the stage. The guards were up everywhere. After the concert, we decided to go to the hotel, one of two that we thought he would be at, and we hit the first one right away. I went up to the desk clerk and I asked for the room number of Stephen Cookie Ross. And I don't know if everybody knows who he is.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to ask for David, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. So they said, the desk clerk, a young gal, said, sure, he's in room number 1733. Yeah, so we go up the elevator to 1733, hearts pounding, and we're in the corridor of the 17th floor, and then we're like, well, now what? How do we knock on the door? What do we do? What do we say? You know? And so we sat on the floor and contemplating who was going to say what, where, la, la, la. All of a sudden, the door opens to room number 1733, and out comes Sam Hyman. And we're like, oh boy. And we just said, and he walks past us and we just said hi. He said hi. And I'll tell you, that man is gorgeous. The pictures do not do him any justice. He's got eyelashes out to here too. Very slender. So he goes to the elevator. And so Kathy and I are pondering again about like, how long are we going to do? So we can't sit here all night. Okay, so now we're going to go to the door. We're going to knock on the door. We knock on the door. Steve Ross opens up the door, and you know, he's the guitarist in the band, and he was David's roommate along with Sam, okay? This guy had on just like little sweatpants on, hanging on his hips. Incense and what have you not is pouring out of the hotel room. And he looks gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. And my girlfriend, who's really bold, is standing there like this. And I'm like, I got to talk. I'm the shy one. Okay. So I look at her. She's not going to say anything. So I'm like, well, hi, Steve. Nice to meet you. Great concert. He's smiling ear to ear. He said, thank you. And I said, would you do me a favor and give this bottle of wine to David? Birthday. He said, I'll do that. Thank you. We did not invite ourselves in. Thank God, because I was wild, but not that wild at that age. And so we just thanked him. And, you know, this is like 10 o'clock at night, and this is after the show, right? So said our good nights, went home. I slept over at Kathy's house that night. We had to stop at another bar because she now is in love with, she's stunned by Steve Ross. And she's like, I got to get him something. We're going to go back tomorrow to the hotel, and I want to get him some liquor. Okay, so she picks up, selections are few at 10 p.m. in Milwaukee. So she picked him up a bottle of blackberry brandy. Sweet. And so we tried to sleep that night, got up in the morning, we got downtown Milwaukee, and we arrived about 8:30, quarter to 9, and thank God the bus was outside the hotel along with the limo behind the bus. Heart stops. Oh my God, we didn't miss it, right? So long story short, when you walk into the hotel ground level, it's just the ground level. And then you go up a little flight of stairs, and it's the main lobby where all the desk clerks are, and very plush. Okay. Kathy and I rode up to the 17th floor to see if we could see anything, if Steve was still there. He wasn't. We didn't knock on the door, but you could just sense it was quiet. So we didn't want to miss anything. So we go back on the elevator. The elevator stops at the floor below, and in comes Kim Carnes and Dave, her husband Dave. And I don't know if you know who Kim Carnes and Dave are. They were the backup singers in the band. In 72, she did Betty Davis Eyes later. So we're just like, cool, hi, hearts are thumping, get to the ground floor with them. And the band is there. They're starting to get together to board the bus. Kathy sees Steve Cookie Ross. So she goes off to talk with him with her little bottle of blackberry brandy. And I started talking with this one other gentleman who looked very businesslike, and it turned out I'm talking with him. He was David's manager, business manager. And he introduced himself to me, and I said, well, how is David doing? How's his health? Because I knew his schedule was very hectic. And the year before, he had a gallbladder surgery. He said, he's doing okay. He's doing good. And I said, great. And I said, how does he keep up with the chaos of everything? And, I can't tell you word for word the conversation anymore, but he said he copes, And then he said to me, he said, David's going to be coming down in a couple minutes. Are you going to be okay? I said, yes. I won't attack him or anything like that, but my heart's banging onto my chest thinking, how can I be so lucky? And at this time, the band is now on the bus, okay, which is parked right in front of the entrance to the hotel. So all of a sudden, he comes out. I could see the flip of his shag around the corner before he comes full circle. And then there he is. And he's walking, and then he kind of hesitated. He saw me standing next to his manager, and he kind of looked at his manager like, who is she? And the manager gave the nod like, it's going to be okay, right? So he comes to me. We shook hands. I could still feel the cast. To this day, I could still feel the Cassidy ring on his pinky. Oh. And he is smiling. I wished him a happy birthday. I thanked him for the concert. His eyes are so vivid green. His hair is like dark blonde. It was lighter than it was on the Partridge Family. I think he might have dyed it a little bit, but it was like a dark blonde or maybe light brown. And I just, happy birthday. I can't remember everything, but he's looking me up and down too. And I'm thinking, don't get any ideas. I'm not that kind of guy. So, but we said, take care. And he was just so pleasant. He goes, I'm glad you enjoyed the concert. And, just stood there for 30 seconds or more. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm holding this guy's hand who is world famous, I didn't ask for an autograph. I didn't have a picture, take a camera. I didn't have a camera at the time. And my girlfriend, Kathy, now is standing in the corner next to the exit. And she's got her head kind of bowed. And he went to her as he's leaving. He bends down and says to her, hi. And she looked up and shook hands with him. Now he's going outside to his limo now. And Steve is on the bus, and he had already opened up the bottle of blackberry brandy, and he was taking a swig at 9 a.m. And he starts banging on the bus window to get David's attention, and David stops, and I'm watching this from inside the glass doors, and he stops, and he's trying to figure out what Steve is trying to tell him. So he's like, like so normal, like what, you know? And all of a sudden he's thinking, I better get a grip here. He's looking up and down the streets because he could be mobbed in a second. He can't figure it out. He goes to the limo, and as soon as he gets to the limo, there were like 25 gals on the second floor lobby, in the regular lobby by the desk clerks. They came running down, went past us, charged out to the limo, and surrounded him. I don't know how I got so lucky with that. Okay. And so I thanked his manager. His manager's name is Jim Flood. Thanked him, and he said, "You're welcome." I said, "Take good care of him." He goes, "We will." And my girlfriend and I then just walked out the door, and we had to go. We're taking the bus back home. So we had to walk past the limo and the bus. And the girls were all screaming around him and everything. And I'm stunned that I got this privilege to meet this man one-on-one. And as we're walking past the limo, my girlfriend turns around to look, and she said, "David's in the limo, turned around looking at you." What? I can't believe it, right? So I'm stunned. I'm like in shock for the rest of the day. And I wish I would have turned around and did something like blow him a kiss, but no, I was just like, I'm 16. So then going forward, he comes to another concert in Milwaukee. We have an outdoor music festival in July, and it's called Milwaukee Summerfest. July 16th, he came. General admission, first come, first serve. He's at the main stage. He comes running out. It was first come, first serve. I had to go to church that day because I grew up in a religious household. Kathy went to get the seats early because the gate opened at noon, and it's mad dash. So she got front row, left to center. David comes out at 8 p.m. that night. Gorgeous, gorgeous evening. But unfortunately, he started getting pelted with stones halfway through the concert. Yeah. And he left the stage, and we're trying, and somebody came out on stage and said the stone throwing has to stop, or David will get hurt, and we can't have that. So we'll take him off the stage. And there was kind of a silence and a hush, and we figured out who it was. All of us girls, there was just a few handful of drunk guys in the audience. Well, then they left because they were at the bar. They came back, throwing stones. So we booed them away. And then I was really quite pissed, excuse me, and a little bit teary-eyed at that too, because I'm like, this is our thing. If you don't like it, go, whatever. So anyways, the guys left. David comes back out, and he's singing. He said, "I know that most of you are here for me, and if you don't like what I do, others just leave." And he was very polite about it. So I'm like kind of wiping tears from my eyes and bending down, trying to adjust my mascara. And he starts singing "Cherish," which had just come out. And my friend said to me, "Eilene, look up now." And I did. And he was right in front singing "Cherish" to me. And I still can't believe how this happened, but I think because I saw him just 3 months before. Okay, so, and then he went on and he sang to the rest of the group. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was it for that time. Now, like I said, I'm 90 minutes north of Chicago. He's coming to McCormick Place in Chicago on July 29th of that same summer. And I'm like, I gotta go. So my parents would never let me go to Chicago. So I lied. and told them I was going to camping with my girlfriend's family for the weekend. So Kathy and I, okay, fine. And we take the Greyhound bus down to Chicago, get a hotel room, and we go there the day of the concert. David had 2 concerts in the afternoon and at night, and got a ticket to the evening concert. Beautiful venue. We had to walk to the venue through railroad tracks in the real seedy part of Chicago to get to this nice area. All right, so Kathy thinks that we're going to be lucky again and meet them again. And she's got her little bottle, another bottle of blackberry brandy for Steve Ross. Well, we decided we went to the evening concert. We're way in the back because we got the tickets that day. Great concert, dazzling. We have befriended the security guard because we're hanging out at the venue the whole day. So we got to know like where the ramp is and where he's probably is going to come out. And the ramp was secured with a chain link fence. And so we thought halfway through the concert, we're going to leave and see if we can hook up with them. And we do, but there were probably a couple dozen other gals that had the same idea we did. So we, Kathy was sitting on the chain link fence with 2 other girls holding her bottle of blackberry brandy, telling the gals how we met David back in April, and the chain link rope broke. Down goes Kathy, crashes the bottle of wine or the brandy, gashes her hand, and blood is going everywhere. And the security guard said, "You got to go to first aid." And she's like, no, I'll be okay. He said, "No, you got to go." Well, it turns out that the first aid room is behind stage. So you have to go down the ramp. I know. I have goosebumps telling the story still 800 years later. So she has to go into the first aid room. The security guard rushes her into this first aid room. I'm gathering our things, our purses, our stuff, and such. The gals also wanted to go to the first aid room too, and the guard's going, "Stay back," So he gets her into the first aid room. He unlocks the door to have me come in, and then I don't know which ones, because it looked like an parking lot, and there were several doors, but they were all closed. And so he goes back up to take care of the gals, and I'm like, there was a photographer sitting there with this huge lens and everything, so he must have been a professional photographer. And I said, "Where is the first aid room?" And he said, "I have no idea." He was a grumpy old man. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to sit and wait for it. But I could hear the band playing. Then all of a sudden, there is this like tremendous energy coming out. And here comes David. He's exiting off the stage. He's being held up by 2 guys. He's drenched in sweat. I mean, just sweat is pouring off him. And his adrenaline is so high that when he's running, his feet aren't even touching the ground. They're holding him up, and he's like, and I'm like, oh my God. And all I could say to him, because he was going to be gone in 2 seconds, I said, "David, I am so sorry about what happened to you at Summerfest 2 weeks ago in Milwaukee." And he's already now past me. He turns around and he said, "That's okay, baby, that's okay." Into the car he goes. On the floor he goes. They're on top of him, and he's going up the ramp. And yeah. And then the photographer said, "Oh, what happened to David two weeks ago?" And I said, he got pelted with stones. Oh, okay. I think he wanted something a little bit more sorted. But that's my story. Kathy never got to see Cookie Steve, and she missed the 10 seconds I had with David. But it was the energy coming through. I could just feel it. So then I met him in 1990. September 1990, he's doing the tour meet and greets for his promotion of Lying to Myself. I was hoping to meet with him and ask about a song, Valley High, on Dreams Are Nothing More Than Wishes. Long story short, we didn't get a chance to meet. He was not hosting, he was at a radio talk show that was hosting live. I don't know how much you want me to say, Barb, on this, but I brought a card for him. And that's about, I want to cut the story short because I don't want to take anybody's time up, but I bought him a card and I was able to give him the card, but I think he kept staring at, it was Kathy and I again. She was going through a divorce at the time. My husband was dying of a terminal illness at the time. So this was just like such a uplift for both of us. And the card I bought him, I wrote down the words here. I found it. It said a rising star on the front of the card, and it said you are always a winner. And on the inside of the card, it said you just proved it. Congratulations. And then I just wrote, I always believed in you, Eilene. No phone number, no address, no last name. So as he's getting ready to leave and they're hustling him out, I was able to give him the card. And he said, thank you, darling, thank you. But I wanted to say he was staring at me an awful lot during that meet and greet because they had him on stage taking questions and such. I could not ask a question because I lied again. I was working at the time. And I was supposed to have a mandatory corporate meeting with the big heads coming in from, they didn't care about me, but it was mandatory that everybody attend. So I said I had to take care of my dad. So he took the card and he went out to the car. He was in a black Toyota at the time, sat in the back seat of the car. He opened up the card and he read it immediately. My friend Kathy was staring out the plate glass window because this was in the bank building. And she said, he's looking for you. He's looking for you. And she flung me over to the plate glass. I thought I was going to go through it. And there he was. And he's like, thank you. Thank you. That was in September 20th, 1990. September 21, 1991. He is playing on tour he was just at his best, I think, then. He was happy. He was just joyful. And I went down to Chicago and I brought Kathy along, of course, and two of my other girlfriends. And we went to the Park West Hotel, a smaller venue. And yes, he was singing there and it was awesome. And that concert is on YouTube. The video's not as good as the one 2 weeks later where he's at West Palm Beach, but he sang Cherish to me there. I know it sounds crazy. I don't expect everybody to believe me. It's okay. I'm just telling you my story. And I just, it just shows what a genuine human being he was. I don't know why, but I think it's just because he was really a kind, sensitive, gentle soul. And I didn't scream and shout and jump all over him, maybe. And then he was probably wondering why I didn't ask for an autograph, which I can't tell you why I didn't. And the card was just a simple card. So that's my story.
Thank you, Eilene. Let's give Eilene, you can unmute and give her a big round of applause.
Yay, Eilene.
Eilene, it was awesome. And
That was great. Oh my God.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Colette.
Hi. My name is Colette. I'm from California. First thing I want to do is say hi to Karen, Barb, Joanne, and Annette, because they have just been so lovely to me and so ingratiating, and they made me feel so welcome. And I I just love them. I just met them and I just love them already.
We love you too, Colette. We love you too.
Absolutely.
I met Karen first, like a couple years ago. But
Yep.
you guys all have just been so lovely to me, and I'm just so thankful. You guys are. I'm already like gonna start crying, but okay. So let me start my story. Okay, so I met David for the first time in 1995 um, in Beverly Hills. Um, I- and I met David like I don't know how too many times to count. I mean, so anyway, this first time we met in Beverly Hills. So one of the reasons I was showing this book earlier. Can you guys see the book? You guys see the book?
Yep.
You can.
Yep.
Okay. So one of the
Yep, we
reasons I
can.
was showing this book is because I first became a fan. I was late. I was in the late freight after you guys. I didn't become a fan until 1993. So, but I catch up fast, and by 1994, I knew everything there was to know about David Cassidy. So this book came out in '94, and by that time, I wanted my sister was a fan too, but I wanted to know some local fans. So in the back of this book, um, it gives a couple names of some local fan clubs. The two fan clubs that I decided to write were Barbara Pasmino in New York and Renee Burdick, who was the LA head of the fan club here. So I wrote to them, and I wrote to Barbara and I said, "Are there any fans in Los Angeles that I could hook up with? Because I wanted to meet people in person who were fans, because it didn't seem like there were any. I felt like the only one." So see, she suggested a fan named Pam Smith, who's from Britain, who lived here. So I met up with Pam, and Pam was friends with Renee Burdick, who was head of the Los Angeles fan club. And so we all sort of became friends. And then one day I got a phone call from Pam, and she said, since Renee is the head of the Los Angeles fan club, Renee is invited to a silent auction where David will be one of the auctioneers, and would you like to come with? I said, so wait a minute, let's just get this straight. So I'm going to be in a room with him in this tiny little store, and we're going to be in the room with David Cassidy. And they're like, yeah, do you want to go? And I was like, let me think. Yeah. So I picked out the cutest, sexiest little outfit I could find. Because unlike Eilene, I was that type of girl. So I went into the store with Renee and Pam, and we are sort of all standing in the line. It was like first Renee, then Pam, and then me. So we're all standing in this it's a leather goods store, a high-end leather goods store in Beverly Hills. So we're all standing there talking, and David walks in. It's the first time I'd ever seen him in public. And he's tiny. I don't know why so many people list him as being 5'8". There's no way he was 5'8". He was 5'5", 5'5" at the most. He was tiny, but he wasn't thin. He was just short. Um, and so he spied us immediately. So he already knew Renee because she was the head of the fan club. And so he comes over to Renee at first. He goes over to Renee, shakes her hand. Hi, how you doing? Then he goes to Pam, shakes her hand. Hi, how you doing? When he gets to me, he took both of my hands and both of his, and he just sort of looked at me, and I sort of looked at him. For it seemed like forever, but it was probably just a couple seconds, and he was just staring at me, and he said, "Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming. You know, what's your name? All this stuff." And then so he finished talking to me, and then he moves back over to Renee. Hi, Renee. Thanks again for coming. Goes over to Pam. Hi, Pam. Thanks for coming. Gets back to me. He takes both of my hands in his, and um, he looks at me again, and we're both sort of just looking at each other. And then he asked me where I was from, and I told him Los Angeles, and he was really impressed by that. And he was like, "Wow, you're from here, and you came to Beverly Hills, and you here to see me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am here to see you." And he was like, "Well, thank you so much." David had the biggest heart he was the sweetest man I've ever met in my entire life. I mean, he just was. You could just feel he was genuinely a sweetheart. He was a darling. And so during the last time we were holding hands, they announced that the auction was going to start. It was an auction for charity. So when they announced that the auction was going to start, and he had to go up to the podium to present the auction, he knew he had to say goodbye. So again, he went over to Renee first to say goodbye to Renee and thank her for coming. He went to Pam and thanked her for coming. And then he went to me and took both of my hands in his. And there's more. There's this thing. I don't know if guys do this everywhere, but here in California, guys do this all the time. It's when they take your hand and they sort of do something. They sort of hold your hand and sort of do something with your palm. And I won't demonstrate it, but you can figure out what it means if you think about it. And he did that when he took my hand. And as soon as he did that, he sort of looked at me like he wanted me to respond. But we're sitting here in the middle of a room, and I'm like, wow. I just was like, I mean, what do you say? So I was just like, thank you, David, so much. I said, gosh, it's making me cry just thinking about it. I was just amazed because once he did that, I knew that something just told me, just like with Eilene said, there's something about him where he had this energy where you just knew, okay, I'm gonna meet this guy again somewhere someday. This is gonna happen. So I just sort of left it there, and he took my hands in his, and he was a hand kisser, which I love. So he kissed my hands. And he said, "Thank you so much for coming. I'm really glad that you came." And I said, I'm so glad to meet you, David. You're amazing." And he was gorgeous. I mean, on TV he looks gorgeous, but in person, I mean, he was just stunning. He was probably 43, 44, and he was gorgeous. And his eyes would sparkle, and they were bright green. And he would look at you, and when he would look at you, you would feel like you were the only person in the room. And so he was holding my hand, and he kissed my hand, and he thanked me for coming. And I just knew at that point I was going to meet him again. I just knew it. And so he left, and he went up to the podium, and that was that. And so it took me 2 years after that to meet him again, which I did, but this time it was in Las Vegas at FX. And we got to become really close friends that way. And there's more to the story, but I'll save that next part of the story for the next time we meet.
Okay, thank you. We are very definitely interested in hearing that.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Colette.
Colette, oh my gosh. I just walked through that whole thing with you, and I felt the spark and everything. You relayed that perfectly.
It was amazing. It was.
Wow.
It was. I mean,
The eyes.
his
Yeah.
eyes would light up.
So green, so sparkly.
So green, so sparkly, and he would look at you, and he just had this. You could feel it. I mean, you felt it, Eilene. I'm sure he had this aura. You just feel the sexuality and
The energy.
and he just had this. He had
Yeah,
it, whatever it was.
he
He had
did.
it.